going, man? How's it been?
Man, life is beautiful. Every day is a blessing. Man, we have a lot to go through and not a lot of time to do it. What the fuck? It happened yesterday, and 7.5 pounds, and all hell broke loose. What are your thoughts? Is that now that we've had a day to watch, what I think the UFC did is pretty magical in a short period of time to save this, because that's the main event just completely blown up by an angry Chechnyan. What do you make of the 7.5 pound miss and the play there and everything that's happened since?
I think Nate's management really hit it on the head and said that they think Chimaev was just flat out trying to cheat, that he figured he could show up at any weight. And I mean, realistically,
and that they'd be fucked and have to go through with it.
yeah, and that this guy's going to fight me regardless. But it's like, why would you do that? I mean, realistically, Nate needed a prayer to win that fight.
Yeah, it was a bad matchup for him. Really,
it's a horrible matchup because I mean, he's granted Nate's a jiu-jitsu great. He's always struggled with wrestlers, and
yeah.
I could see Hamza going out there trying to crack with him, but if he got in trouble, he'd always just be able to grind him out,
Yeah, he's already naturally bigger. I mean, Hamzat is very big for that weight class, and we all knew that going in until he came in as a big fat fuck. Apparently, he was out the night before eating.
So I did see that. I saw that, and video finally showed up of the scuffle that started happening backstage when they canceled the press conference the night before. So they were. I think that the card is better now.
I do too.
I think Holland and Chimaev is a better matchup. Holland also struggles against wrestlers, but unlike Nate, I'm a huge Diaz fan. I do want Diaz to win tonight. I like Tone, but I want Nate to win. I think Holland can put Chimaev away if it came down to it. But do I think he's gonna put him away? No, but it's a better fight. And Nate versus
Holland's he's a sneaky striker. He's got some very awkward stuff that he can throw in that pocket. And he'll sit in front of him and throw. And Chimaev's got enough of an ego where he will, even if he knows if I take him to the ground, this is over. Chimaev seems to, have that gladiator ego that sometimes works out well and sometimes it doesn't. So he could easily walk into some crazy shit by Holland that he doesn't see, some awkward shot from the pocket and get stuck. I mean, it happens a lot, especially to guys with big egos.
Right, and especially, I mean, we haven't seen it yet, but if Holland can keep Chimaev off of it, Holland struggles against wrestlers. That's a big thing too. Like all of his, like Derek Brunson, can't even think of who else right now, but he struggles against wrestlers, plain and simple. Yeah. And Chimaev, again, terrible matchup for Holland. But I like to think if Holland can, he's going to talk shit to him. I already know he's going to be running his mouth to him.
Yeah.
But Holland, I think, has just been getting so much better in such a short, like his last fight. I think we were messaging each other during it. He looked excellent. Looked absolutely excellent. Is there a bigger jump in class now? Of course there is. But like you said, I think if he can if he clips Chimaev a little bit at the start and gets Chimaev's head into the I'm gonna come out and strike ego, I think he can put him down. I really do.
Yeah, Holland and Means was the fight that we were watching, and before that he beat Charles Oliveira. So that's a pretty decent win streak. Both of those guys are outstanding fighters, but Oliveira and Means back to back. Prior to that, he really wasn't fighting well. So he's pulled it together and put together a nice string. I don't know. Chimaev, it seemed like when he did get in trouble, which he did in the last fight, he at least had the instincts to grab on to legs and wrestle at that point. But he kept on taking shots to give shots throughout that whole fight. He's definitely one of those guys, which made the Diaz fight kind of interesting. I mean, it should have just been a bloodbath, even at weight, much less 7.5 pound, advantage on fight day. I'm glad you're not even
trying. Yeah, you're not even trying to make weight at that point. Let's be honest. He didn't even try because he showed up. I was driving around at work yesterday and I had it playing.
Yeah.
And the guys who were, I was watching on an MMA Junkies live stream.
Yeah.
They said we just got a tweet from Ariel Helwani saying that Chimaev right now is 12 pounds overweight. And it's like, he's got to weigh in an hour. And then he gets on the scale like 30 minutes later and he's
7.5.
Yeah, he was at 178. And when he was on the scale, he did the shrug and said, "Oh, it's not that bad." It's like, dude, are you kidding me?
He smirked.
Yes. It's like, dude, are you kidding me? That is pretty bad.
That's the conspiracy theory. So there's a conspiracy theory all over the internet that the UFC planned this and planned the backstage thing, planned this to flip everything around. I don't think so. I think Chimaev planned not making weight.
Yes.
He did it, and he probably said, "Fuck it, I'm the main event. I'm the man. They'll put me in. Diaz is a tough fighter. What's he gonna do? I'm just gonna knock him out anyway. Who cares?"
Right.
And or I mean, he wouldn't think they'd cancel a main event of a pay-per-view. I wonder if he also considered that they'd move Holland in as a main event fighter for the main event. But either way, he took a big risk. There is a case that the UFC should have told him to fuck off.
Yes.
Cut him from the card and said, we'll get you a fight whenever, but not as a main event. Right. That would have been bad for the fans, but that also would have set a precedent for the future UFC cards that these guys can't fuck around like that. Now there's a concern that these guys can come in and do this. Obviously, there's going to be a financial repercussion for Chimaev for this anyway. He's lost the main event. I'm wondering what the hell he was thinking, though. I mean, he had to just have I don't give a fuck attitude. What are they going to do? But that's a bizarre, with the biggest part of your life, the biggest stage of your life, the biggest, first time you're headlining against a star, whether it's somebody you should beat easily or not, seems like a massively stupid risk to take.
It's been a very bad week for him because, like you said, he shows up off weight, which is unprofessional at first, in one of the biggest stages in a fight that everyone wants, so he's supposed to win at. And he's got everything to lose tonight, quite frankly. Between the weight miss, the fight backstage, and then if he were to lose to Holland, that's not good. That he's in for some trouble if this happens.
Yeah, I agree.
Going back to the one reason Holland, the Holland fight not being down to 170, Holland and Rodriguez weighing in at 180 kind of threw me off. First off, there's multiple weight misses. There was going to be, but they all agreed to catch weights. There was going to be multiple weight misses on the card. There was the Rodriguez fight, the Macy Chasson fight. Charles Bennett missed weight, or whatever his name is.
Dude, that's funny as fuck. He missed weight at heavyweight. He's like 5'7", and he missed 265 pounds. He missed weight at 5'7". He's a short, fat fuck. And he still missed. By the way, I love that guy. I mean, I think he's great, but how the fuck do you miss weight at 5'7", 265?
Eric, I was watching the weigh-in show. He weighed in. He was wiping the sweat off of his body still right before he got on the scale. Stepped on. They say he's 2 pounds over. The guys are laughing like, wow, what a turn of events. There's about 30 minutes left. Then they call on the loudspeaker. They're like, Chimaev and Bennett will not be weighing in again. So they're taking it at that weight. It's like, dude, go sit back there, suffer the 2 pounds. You're going to lose a bunch of your purse money.
It's easier to cut weight for muscular people, which is shocking, than fat people.
Yeah.
It's something a lot of people don't know. They think it'd be easier for fat people. But muscular people just sweat. The water's in the muscles. It goes right out, comes right back in.
Right.
For fat people, that's fat. It just sits there, and you keep fat. So that's pretty funny. So who do you like tonight? I mean, with all the mix-ups, I like the Diaz-Ferguson fight a lot more than the Chimaev Diaz fight. It's a better fight. It's a better way to show respect to Nate after all he's done in the sport, as a warrior and shit talker. By the way, did you see what Dana White said about, because Nate was not happy about the Chimaev fight. And Dana White he responded to Nate's claim that the UFC forced him to fight Chimaev.
Yeah.
And he goes, quote, "I honestly thought Nate asked me to get him the Khamzat Chimaev fight. All I heard was, and then he lit a spliff and walked away." That's what he said. So Nate, not articulating, the best way possible. Sometimes he's a mumbling, shit-talking machine, and apparently his mumbling and pothead self mumbled his way
Did you
into.
see the interview he did 3 days ago? Got like over 4 million views in a day with Brett Okamoto.
Which I've been watching them all, but which one are you talking about? I don't know the interviewers' names, but yeah, I've been watching them. Which one?
It was the one that came out probably 3 days ago. High quality. The Brett was the interviewer. He probably asked like 4 questions in 30 minutes, and Nate was just going. And at the end of it, he did the most Diaz thing possible. He just got done saying what he had to say. He's like, you know what, Brett, good interview. I gotta go. Peace, bro. And he shakes his hand and just straight up leaves. It's like this guy does shit on his terms.
I fucking love the Diaz brothers. It'd be fun to get high with them, although you'd never know. You accidentally said something, you might get. If you're too familiar, you might end up getting smacked, and that's not fun. Be a little nervous about how volatile those fucks can be, but they're pretty damn funny and definitely great for the sport. So who do you like tonight? Give me your rundown on who you like, and then your pick of the week.
I was gonna hesitate on me. I'm gonna play it safe because I'm down 2 weeks playing with my heart, but I'm not playing with my heart this week. I'm gonna play logically thinking, and this first one may not be logically thinking, but I've strung it in my head this way. Johnny Walker and Kudalaba, I think is on paper looks like a bad matchup for Johnny Walker.
Mm-hmm.
Power striker. Johnny hasn't been the same since he lost to Corey Anderson, and then he went on that skid. And since then, I think he's only beat Thiago Santos. But Thiago Santos was the big hitter, supposed to go out there, knock Walker out one hit, and Walker just pitter-battered point fighted him from distance. I think Walker does that tonight against Kudalaba. And honestly, Kudalaba's hit and miss. I think I got it right here. He's coming off of a loss to Ryan Spann. He got submitted, and then before that, he had a decision of a lackluster fight with Devin Clark, and then he lost to Magomedov Ankalaev, and his last one was against Khalil Roundtree in 2019. It looks like sorry about that. No, he had the decision against Devin Clark, but he's 2-2 in the past couple. He's not super active, and I thought I've watched Kudalaba fight a ton the past 2 years, but I think Walker can keep at range, pick him apart, avoid the power shots. I don't think he finishes them. I think they go to decision, but I like Johnny Walker in that fight, and I'm not ever really high on Johnny Walker, but I do think this is his fight to lose. After Johnny Walker, I do also like. I really like Juliana Rosa over Dawodu. Dawodu is a thick featherweight. He's very built, very conditioned and in shape. But Rosa is very, very large as well. I think he walks around about 6 foot. And
that's huge for a featherweight. That's very tall for a featherweight.
Yeah, and Dawodu, I'm pretty sure, was killing people before he got to the UFC. And since he's got to the UFC, I think he's got one finish, and the rest are decisions.
Yeah.
I think this fight goes to decision too, but I think Julian can avoid the and I might be wrong. I think no, Dawodu did not make weight. Fuck. I can't remember if Dawodu made weight or not. Yet again, going against the grain on it, because fighters who miss weight tend to win more. But I do think Erosa stylistically can keep Dawodu away and fight to a decision. So I like that fight as well. And Erosa's underdog, not by a lot. Same thing with Johnny Walker, not by a lot. I think they're in the plus 100s.
Yeah.
And then pick of the week, just because I think this is crazy. And I looked this up myself because I was like, I never even heard of her. Who is this person? Norma Dumont versus Danielle Wolf. Danielle Wolf's the 1-0 pro boxer and IBJJF champion. So I was a little curious about that. I was like, I don't know who this person is. She's an IBJJF champion at white belt. All right. You went in there, you competed against other hobbyists. Okay. That's cool. She's got 44 amateur boxing fights, but they don't have any pro fights recorded for her. No pro fights. 44 amateur boxing fights, still a lot. But Norma Dumont, come on, I think Norma's going to go in there.
I
I
agree.
don't think box her. I think Norma just goes out there and takes her down and just crushes her.
Yeah,
And
that was my pick of the week. It was that fight. I think you're absolutely spot on. You have a boxer and somebody who's really got very limited experience in jiu-jitsu against somebody who does have experience in jiu-jitsu. And
right.
you and I both know how that tends to work. If you don't land some punches and the other person, the jiu-jitsu person is smart, which most of them are, and takes the fight to the ground, it's over. It's game over at that point. Or if nothing else, it'll just be controlled rounds,
Exactly. I think that's going to be what most of it is. I think I can see Norma just getting into dominant positions like full mount and just cracking her 3-4 times. Another reason I don't see Danielle even, let's say Norma can take her down, I don't see Danielle winning because I think Danielle will have to knock her out. And quite frankly, there's only certain females in the UFC that are blessed with that knockout power, and we all know who they are. Danielle could be one of them, but I can see Norma with the threat of the clinch and the takedown being enough for Danielle striking to be hindered. So I think Norma's gonna just grind her out for 3 rounds.
I like one more underdog too. I like Daniel Rodriguez, and he's a fairly sizable underdog. But it's a late addition to the Jingling fight. And he's, Jingling was, walking into a fight where he was a massive, massive favorite. Rodriguez is a different type of fighter. He's won 3 in a row. I think right now he's a massive underdog. He's putting up a lot of energy. He's putting a lot of moves together. His striking has gotten a lot better. And his last few wins, he's been putting up about 100 points a game. Points, meaning like hits, submissions, control time, etc. For the money, I think Daniel Rodriguez is a nice sneaky play to be able to, pick somebody who has a coin flip chance of winning, and see if you can come out on top there. On the Diaz fight, I hate to say this, I think Ferguson wins, but I'm rooting for Diaz.
Same here. I
hate to say it, but I mean, I think
Nate, this is someone that Nate's not going to be able to pull into the deep water, I think.
Which is where he's at his best, is round.
Yeah, which is 5. Where he just drowns you.
Yeah, he has got that cardio. He just keeps peppering you with these awkward little shots that don't look hard, but over the course of a fight, the damage is significant. And if he gets you in the jiu-jitsu side, it's a lot of fun for him. He usually tends to do pretty well there, unless it's a much stronger wrestler. We've seen some struggles there, but I think Ferguson's, going to be able to be capable of going into that deep water. I don't think it's going to be a knockout. I think it's going to be a decision.
Tony looked super good against Chandler too before the knockout. Tony was piecing him up, to be quite frank. I mean, he was
Chandler a fucking monster too. And Chandler's one of the best fighters on the roster. And for Tony to fight like that at this point, I don't think Nate's fought at that level, had shown what Tony's shown in quite some time. Father Time does its damage. And I'm rooting for Nate. I love Nate Diaz. I think he's hilarious, but I think Tony Ferguson is the other pick that I go for tonight.
You hate to see either of them lose. That's the thing.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. So the other fight that's interesting is Weeks. I think Weeks has a chance to get back in the win column today. I'm not going to say that that's the pick. I'm going to go with Ferguson. I'm going to go with Dumont. And I'll go with Rodriguez as the underdog. Those are my 3.
I like the Rodriguez one, just especially for the value, because he was 10 pounds heavier at weigh-in. Everything you said, he's been overall excellent in the striking and everywhere else in his fighting control time. And Leach is a great fighter, but he got a new fan in me off of I think he helped save the card, because honestly, if he doesn't take that matchup and says, no, I want to fight Tony still, and Nate doesn't get the Tony fight and Nate walks, the card goes under, to be quite frank.
Yeah, it'd be nobody would pay for it. So I'm more excited about the card now. I'll talk to you during. I'm going to go ahead and put this up before it starts in the next 10 minutes. Thank you so much. I appreciate you, brother. And we'll talk during the fights. All right.
I'll talk to you soon, Eric. Have a good one.
You too. Bye-bye.
See ya.